Individual managers and project managers don't fail because they don't take into account their decisions. It's because they forget other people are deciding things too. And if you've ever had that problem, let me tell you about something that can help you make hard decisions where other people are impacting decisions you're making with the decisions they're making. I know, it sounds complicated. And you know what? It's because it is, but it's real life. It happens all the time at work, right? You decide you need some resources, but somebody else is making the same pull on the same resources. What do? Game theory, but game theory with a twist. I'm going to talk today about 3 types of game theory, how you can leverage it, how you can go beyond it, and how you can use the 80-20 rule to figure out when is it right to play and when is it right to walk away. Coming up next on Project Skills Mentor. Big concept behind game theory is it's looking for the best outcome for you generally. But in real life, that also extends to your organization. So you need to be looking for the best outcome for you, where you can maximize results, mitigate risk, and get decisions that help move the ball forward for you and your organization. This is what we're talking about when we talk about game theory at work. Well, let's break this down. When do decisions actually step over into the realm of decision-making game theory? Well, it's when more than one player is involved. So if you're making a discrete decision on your own, it has no impact to anyone else, it asks nothing from anyone else that's material, then you're just making a decision. But if other players are involved, have actions or choices, negotiation or competition, when the payoffs are variable. So in other words, if I make this decision, I get that payoff, which means that amount of funding, that amount of resources, or maybe a promotion for myself. And if I get this decision, then I'll have less or more of those things. The best payoff is the winner, just like in a game. So if you've ever asked, what will they do if you choose this option? You're already playing game theory, you just may not be aware of it. So I'm going to teach you how to play the game well. Let me break down 3 ways game theory can help you. So the first one you may know about is the prisoner's dilemma. 2 people, maybe they've committed a crime, they're in the police station, and the police says, if you talk and rat out the other guy, I'll let you off. And somebody's saying the same thing to the second prisoner. The prisoner's dilemma is if you both keep quiet, you're good, but the person who talks first does better. How do you know how their decision will impact your decision when all you have is a good guess of what will that other person do? Well, that's what happens in projects all the time. Should I speak up in a situation where it might not have a good outcome for me, or should I not? The reality is, it's best for both to talk in the real world scenario. Why? Because being transparent about when things go wrong, when dates slip, when things aren't deliverable, well then having a conversation about it helps you mitigate the problem. Here's a scenario of not 2 prisoners, but a project team and a vendor. And in this situation, something's going wrong. And the vendor can choose to talk or can choose to stay silent. But the same is true of the team. Now the question is, what's the best outcome? This is a problem that happens all the time in business, in departments, in relationships between vendors and suppliers and customers. The point is, cooperation is the best outcome, not just for one party, but for both and to the organization and the relationships. And you might say, this isn't real life. Why would people withhold information? In my years of experience, they do it all the time. Why? They do it because they're incentivized to be silent, to not give bad news. When you take away some of those inherent incentives to be quiet when silence is painful to the organization and the project, then you start getting real talk, real transparency, and real actionable solutions. When would you use this game theory when you've got to make a decision? When the outcome demands trust and cooperation. You really want to use it when you need to maintain long-term relationships. So you can avoid it when the interaction's one time, one off. People aren't motivated to sustain long-term relationships, therefore they're going to do what's best for them no matter what. And also there's no accountability. So whatever they do, they're not accountable for it, or they won't take accountability for it. So this game theory helps you stop asking, why won't they just work with us? And start asking, what incentives would make cooperation the natural choice? And if you want to know more about the details of this kind of game theory, check out my blog. The links are below. Next is the Nash Equilibrium. One person alone can't change the outcome by making a different decision, and both outcomes are pretty good. That's the Nash Equilibrium. When it seems like good enough is good enough, like this is the way we've always done it, or this is the way I know that's proven, or this is our policy, but it's not really the best for the long term of the organization. I mean, the world is changing, right? Things like AI, industry changes, the marketplace, tariffs, I don't know, all the things happening in the world. Sometimes good enough isn't good enough anymore. The way you used to do things won't cut it in today's marketplace, and you need to make a better decision. Well, imagine a couple of people trying to make decisions in the organization, and they're both good decisions, but without both players deciding to change things, no better decision can be made. No optimum outcome can be reached. No better payoff will happen, therefore. How do you deal with that? Let's say you've got a subject matter expert or a specific resource both teams need to get the job done. This often happens when you have a deeply technical resource and both are needed to do, let's say, infrastructure or design on your project. Now, you can fight for that resource back and forth and make that resource completely burn out and focus on two things at once so they do neither really well, or you can change the nature of the game. And this is where I call going beyond the Nash theory. Because if both managers simply try to squeeze that resource, that's not an optimum outcome. It's also not a great outcome for the person who's being squeezed. So going beyond Nash is how I look at it when I say, what else can I do? Let's say I'm manager B. One of the things I can do is think about some actual solutions that are optimized. I can have someone who's got a similar skill set be mentored by the person who's a subject matter expert. I can work on using them to validate a design that AI is already creating. So they're not having to do the initial creation, they're just doing the validation. Another thing I can do is work on timing differences so that I'm moving my part of that project ahead so that that kind of conflict doesn't happen so much. They're actually optimized because I'm solving the bigger problem. I'm solving the long-term problem of not enough resources. And if I put that into my project planning and I tell my stakeholders I'm solving it in a unique way, this can be a thing that differentiates me between myself and the other project manager. Something stakeholders love is someone who can solve a problem uniquely to make the problem simply go away, so it doesn't even fall onto your stakeholders' laps. This is what Nash Equilibrium and going beyond it can do. So when would you use this particular game theory notion? It's when you've got a constrained resource. You can't make the pie bigger, it's only so big, and you've got to cut it up in a different way. If you can't change the game, then this game may not be for you. And what it looks like on a project is when everyone's doing the best they can, but nothing is optimized. But what Nash theory can help you do is optimize a new way of working. And that's valuable to both you and the business. And the last one is zero-sum game. So what does zero-sum mean? There's always one winner, that's +1 you could say, and one loser, that's -1. And what do -1 and +1 equal? 0. That's zero-sum game, where there are winners and losers. And the outcome, theoretically, net, is the same for the organization, but that's not real life. In real life, the winners and losers have a huge impact on what happens in the organization and also what happens for the individuals. If you're always losing when you're trying to get project funding, you're going to be seen as the project manager who doesn't move forward. And you don't want that. I call this moving through, not around the zero-sum game. So you can imagine there's a meeting with 3 managers who are going to pitch. You've got 3 business cases with your major stakeholders. So your COO and CEO have 3 different projects they need to fund. They can afford to fund one of them. How do they deal with that? How do they decide who to fund? They might use logic and fund the one that's most likely to succeed, most important to the company, or they might fund something more irrationally, like their favorites, the project manager they like the best story, even if it's not the right story. Have you ever heard that a lot of decisions are made before you walk into a room? Before you walk into that room, even way before, find out what's important to the organization, what's important to each decision maker, what's the incentive for that decision maker to make the different decisions. And again, this can be something personal or something obvious and logical and rational to the organization. So if you know they've got a personal objection, solve it. If they've got a business strategy management issue, try to address it. If they've got an issue of either or, try to make your story a both. Smart managers don't pretend that zero-sum doesn't exist. They go around it. They try to figure out what makes their story better, what makes their business case stronger, what makes their economics more on track with the company's strategy. Now, zero-sum game is best used when resources are fixed. It's a Highlander situation. In other words, there is only one winner. When one side's gain is another one's loss, you should avoid it when the pie can be bigger, when value can create a more expansive option, when you can pick 2 winners, not just one. And what it looks like in projects is fixed budgets, competitive bids, and schedules that have compressed trade-offs. In other words, we can either do this in this timing or that in this timing. Not every decision is going to be your win, but you can play the game better so that the win is more likely to be yours by working with stakeholders, finding out what's important to them really, not just making your pitch, and answering their issues directly in your business case. So how does game theory improve your decision making as a manager? It helps you be analytical, resistant to reactive answers, and also reduces surprise. If you understand the game you're playing, you can be smarter about how you play it, right? So here's the mechanics of how you play any game. Identify who the influencers are to the outcome. Understand what each party values, including potentially your competition. Consider how they are likely to respond. That's like the prisoner's dilemma, right? Try to understand from your past experience how future decisions might be made. Adjust incentives and sequencing if you can. If the game is not going your way, one of the best things to do is adjust the incentives and the sequencing of events. Always create lessons learned. You can review how you managed a decision, who the decision makers were, and what the optimum outcome was to make sure you're learning the lessons about people and decision making going forward. Because this is not a one and done. These kind of things are going to come up through your entire career. Maybe even your work life, but also your family life. Who knows? And here's my last tip to you. Use the 80-20 rule. You don't always need to use fancy game theory when you're making a decision where you're the only player. Know how to play the game. Know which one of these to use and know what kind of optimum outcome you're looking for. And if you want to know more about how to optimize your outcomes, check out these videos or check out my links below. I hope you'll give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you next time on projectskillsmentor.com. Bye-bye, everybody.